Welcome to the EMPWR podcast, where wellness meets real life and empowerment becomes your way of being. I'm your host, Sam. Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. I feel like I have been nonstop go lately. This is like the first time I've been home for I think the next couple weeks until we travel again, but it's just been nonstop over the last 6 weeks. I actually just came back from a wellness retreat to Honduras, which was absolutely amazing. I mean, it was one of those trips where I went there to work and Ian was initially supposed to come with me just to help me with content and obviously just to have a fun time with him too. And it worked out to where he was just going to stay behind with the kids because of some childcare things. As far as who was going to watch them, it just made sense that one of us needed to be back. And at first I was bummed because I was like, oh my gosh, I want to go to a new country with Ian. And, he had never been there either. But honestly, it was just what I needed. I don't remember the last time I've been on a trip just by myself. So if you guys feel overwhelmed with life or things are crazy, maybe that's the sign you need to go on a trip by yourself, because it was exactly what I needed just to be able to go and disconnect. And obviously it helps being in a beautiful place. I was in Roatan, an island right outside of Honduras. Super safe, super beautiful. I stayed at the Kimpton Grand Roatan Resort, and I did everything from yoga. I taught some strength training classes. I did sound baths. Had never done a sound bath before, and that was an amazing experience. But honestly, just being on the beach, I love the ocean. I love the water. Just being still, not having to be on calls all the time or filming tons of content. Obviously, I worked while I was there, but it was just different. You're in a beautiful spot and you're able just to kind of disconnect. I went snorkeling and swam, and it truly was what I needed to just kind of take a break and connect with myself. And this past week, I felt like I uncovered so many findings about myself, which just shows the importance of taking time to reflect and taking a time to pause and just be still. I think that we need that as women, as moms, whether you are a stay-at-home mom, you have a career, you're not a mom yet, and life's just crazy. I think anyone can benefit from just staying still and connecting with themselves. So it was a really great experience, and I want to go back and take Ian because it was absolutely beautiful. So a really great time. But with that being said, I do feel more connected with myself more than ever, probably. Obviously, life is just crazy the past couple of years just with this career. And a lot of you know that I was in a different career a couple of years ago. And so since then, it's just been super fast paced, and I had not really taken a break. So it was much needed. And going into this episode today, I'm going to be talking all things motherhood and that journey that I've been on the past over 5 years. I guess if you want to count pregnancy, that's when it really starts. And I think because I am so centered with myself, when I was preparing for this episode the past couple of days, I have been super emotional about it. Just because I've been able to kind of take a step back. And while I've been going through a lot of your questions and kind of preparing some points that I want to make, I just look at this girl when I started with my pregnancies, and I'm like, you have grown so much. So to be quite honest, I don't know how this episode will go. It might be emotional, but that's okay because I think there's beauty in that, to be able to connect with yourself on a level like that. My main goal with whoever is listening to this, whether you're a mom, whether you want to be a mom, maybe you're not a mom and don't want to be a mom, that's fine. I hope that there is something said today that can resonate with you on some level. And for the moms out there, just knowing that you're not alone. And while all of our stories may look different, I think there's a way that we can connect with each other on some level. So let's dig into it. How was being pregnant? So when I got pregnant, I was 28. I had my first son at 29. And the first pregnancy, I had gone into it I would say active, but I wasn't super active. Like I wasn't like lifting a ton, but I was in a good state of health and like prioritized good food and felt good. And the pregnancy honestly was very easy. I feel so blessed to be able to say that. I know not every woman has that experience, but I felt good. I didn't have any complications. I had planned for a unmedicated birth in the hospital. In the hospital, there was like a natural birth center. And so my plan was to go unmedicated, go natural vaginal birth. And again, there were no complications. So everything like led to the fact that like I could do that. I ended up having back labor because he was flipped. So he was sunny side up. So my back labor was like crazy. I think it was like 36 hours long. So that was a very long process that came with a lot of pressure and feelings that were not ideal. So I did end up doing the whole epidural route and still had a beautiful birth. It was great. But the pregnancy itself was, really good. I did not lift in the pregnancy. I think I lifted maybe like the first trimester and then just kind of maintained steps, walked a lot, which is good. Movement's better than no movement. So my second pregnancy with Quinn was completely different in the sense that I really prioritized movement and lifting and maintained that throughout my whole pregnancy. I think like up until maybe the last week, like honestly, I think it was like a few days prior, I was still lifting some weights, going on walks. I walked every single day. That was something that my midwife told me. She was like, walk as much as you can. And honestly, I never felt better. I will say when I first got pregnant, I had a little bit of a scare in the sense that I think I just found out I was pregnant. So I think I was like 5 weeks, 6 weeks. And this is trigger warning for anybody that has, had any kind of miscarriage or pregnant and just maybe don't want to hear this. I would just trigger warning with blood. I did experience some bleeding and it was very scary because I'll never forget. I was in my closet getting dressed. I took off my pants and then like just saw blood in my panties. And it wasn't a ton, but it was enough to be like very alarming because I just had found out I was pregnant. And so like I immediately just got super overwhelmed, started crying, thinking like, oh my gosh, okay, I'm having a miscarriage. And I kept bleeding throughout the entire day. Obviously had called my provider and she was like, you know what, just monitor it. It could be nothing. It could be a lot. She kind of gave me some like signs to look out for. I still wanted a peace of mind though, because it was like, I think Saturday morning. And so like, I knew I would have had to wait the entire weekend to go be seen because I think the provider was like, come back in next week. So I went to the ER just to have a scan. And that's when I saw his heartbeat, which was crazy because it was like a moment of so much fear that was washed away with like the most beautiful sound of the world. So I saw a heartbeat and I ended up still bleeding for like the next month, I think. They never could figure out what it was. Like sometimes the way the baby like plants into the wall, it could create like a little pocket of blood and maybe that's what was coming out. They never figured it out. But that was a little nerve-wracking just because I feel like miscarriage these days is so prevalent, which breaks my heart. And so many women around me experience this. And I just was very fearful. So I was obviously like a little bit timid, but I just kept prioritizing my health, my fitness, my well-being. But like my mental state was great. And like I said, I was lifting, walking. I was just really prioritizing myself and like self-care, which can be hard. Like if you have multiple kids, you know this. It's difficult in this sense because your first pregnancy, if you want to nap, you can go nap. You have time to. But when you have a toddler or a second child, whatever age that might be, you have to tend to another human. So sometimes your schedule might not align to theirs. So it's a little bit tricky, but I just tried to prioritize self-care the best that I could. I will say with both boys, I developed, I think it's called rhinitis, where vascular issue in your nose to where you're basically just stuffed up the entire time. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Like, it's not like if I blew my nose, it would go away. I was just constantly stuffed up from 34 weeks on with both boys. It just sounded like I had a stuffy nose and I had to quite literally breathe through my mouth. So that was not ideal. But again, like counting my blessings, things could have been a lot worse. So I would say overall, like my pregnancies were very easy, and I'm very thankful for that. Today's episode is brought to you by Dream Recovery, the ultimate brand for optimizing your rest and recovery. As someone who is about creating a healthy balance in all areas of their health, I know how much good sleep transforms your performance in your everyday life, and Dream Recovery takes it to the next level. Dream Recovery's innovative products are designed to help you wake up feeling like your best self, whether it's their Dream Strips, which I personally use every night, that help you breathe better and sleep deeper, or their Dream Tape Plus, infused with anti-aging skincare to promote nasal breathing and glowing skin. This brand is all about helping you feel refreshed, restored, and ready to conquer the day. I personally thought mouth tape was just a trend, but decided to try it out anyways, and I kid you not, you guys, after a few nights of using it, I noticed my sleep improved and my energy increased. I really could see the difference on my Garmin watch and saw my REM and deep sleep cycles lengthen, which was wild to me. Bonus, if your partner snores, slap some mouth tape on them because Ian even stopped snoring. I love that Dream Recovery's mission is rooted in the idea of awakening our full potential, because when we sleep better, we do better. So whether you're an athlete, a busy parent, or just someone trying to prioritize wellness, Dream Recovery has the tools you need to level up your recovery game. Visit dreamrecovery.io and use the code SAM15 at checkout. I want to hear more about your home birth. My home birth was hands down the most amazing experience of my life. So like I said, with my first, I had planned for a natural birth, unmedicated. I had really bad back labor, and so did not do that. Had an epidural, had like the whole full shebang at the hospital. My second pregnancy was during COVID, and I had plans to deliver in the hospital, again, in the natural birthing suite. So I was going to do it unmedicated again, all natural, like try for that. And they were like, you're going to have to wear a mask during pregnancy. And I was like, well, or during your labor and delivery. And I was like, that is not happening. So I decided to do a home birth instead. I found an amazing midwife here in the Nashville area and prepped for that my entire pregnancy. And what that looked like was a lot of like breathing practices, like breath work and meditation every day, and just like centering myself. I created a lot of like affirmation cards to hang, like twinkle lights in the setup at home. I got a tub, like a full home birth list off Amazon, like all the things that I needed. I just kept telling myself, like, affirmations are so huge. I kept telling myself, my body can do this. My body was designed to be able to do this. I also like listened to the advice from my medical provider, like my midwife. Everything looked great. Like every time she came over and did all of like the body stats, like baby was healthy, I was healthy. There was nothing saying that I couldn't do this. Obviously, if there was, I would have listened to that, but I just felt at the deepest center of my core like this was the way to go. So the home birth itself was really amazing. Both boys came a few days early, and with Quinn, who I had the home birth with, I felt like small, tiny contractions like that early morning. And then by like 12 p.m., was really getting some contractions and just like was breathing through them at home. It was great. Grayson was there. And then I ended up having him like 2 hours later at like 2:34. And it was like the most beautiful thing ever. What's crazy too is how capable our bodies are. Like the female's body is so smart, especially when it comes to pregnancy and delivery and labor. Obviously, my first birth being a long labor, having that back labor, did not feel the best. I will say that. This second birth, like the home birth I had, this is crazy to say. And some of you guys might be like, okay, you're on something. But I'm so serious when I say I never felt pain. Unmedicated, vaginal, I never felt pain. I felt an intense amount of pressure, but it was never painful because I think the months prior I had done so much breath work and meditation. Like while I was in labor, I was working so much on breath work, listening to meditation tapes. Like I was in another universe and just so in sync with my body. And like every contraction I had, I just like breathed through and like was in one with my body. Like that sounds so trippy, but it's so true. Like it was amazing the way the entire delivery and labor came about. When he came out, it was like the most empowering feeling, being like, oh my gosh, my body just did that. Like I birthed the baby at home in a tub and I'm healthy, he's healthy. It was a really beautiful experience. And what's really cool is it was New Year's Eve. So I went to the bed, obviously like was in the tub for a while, just like holding him. And it was so amazing and beautiful, like the twinkle lights and the people I love right all around me. But I was able to go like rinse off and then just lay in bed, hold my sweet baby. The midwife and I think my mom and my doula like brought me a glass of champagne to celebrate the new year. It was just a really special moment. So amazing. I definitely want to have another home birth if I have the opportunity to, if my body's in a good state and baby's in a good state. Again, most important part is healthy mama and baby, but it was a really amazing experience. How would you handle bouncing back postpartum, what you know now? I think there's so much pressure to quote unquote bounce back. And I think a lot of that is led with just social media because it's easy for us to compare ourselves to other people, which we're human at the end of the day. That happens to the best of us. But we have to take a step back as women and as moms and just give ourselves grace and know that it takes 9 months for our bodies to create these babies and hold these babies, and our bodies changing throughout that. So while it's hard to remove that expectation of bouncing back quickly after birth, we have to understand that like that's also going to take time, just like it took time to create these beautiful babies. So I think giving yourself grace and creating a routine of consistency is what would be key. You know, whether that's movement 3 days a week, 5 days a week, whatever that may be, whatever you feel comfortable with once you're cleared at like 6 weeks, and creating, you know, healthy nutrition and just being consistent with that and knowing that you're fueling your body with time, your body's going to respond to that. You also have to understand that postpartum, like your hormones are just like up and down, up and down, up and down. It's trying to get regulated. So I will say too, I think getting blood work done is key. I think postpartum is like one part of life that is not talked about enough. Like in pregnancy, there's so much to be talked about, but postpartum, I feel like doesn't get the TLC it deserves. And I think there's a lot more that we can do. So I think blood work is a big part of that, just kind of seeing where your hormones are at and getting it done every 8 to 12 weeks, I think is totally healthy because again, like your hormones are going up and down, whether you're breastfeeding, whether you're not breastfeeding, it's just a lot. So I think being able to kind of check in with your body and see where you're at and how you can continue to support and fuel itself is definitely the way to go. How was your postpartum experience? My postpartum experience was obviously a beautiful thing in the sense that I got 2 amazing, sweet little babies. And I do love the baby stage. Like there's something about like the way they smell and the tiny little clothes and just holding them and just like watching them grow at such a rapid pace in those first few months. It's a really beautiful thing. But I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I had a really hard time. Breastfeeding was really hard for me. I developed mastitis a few times with both babies. So I was like on antibiotics a couple times, especially with Quinn. I tried to take more of a holistic route and healed it naturally. But that was so hard because that is, it's literally like the flu. If you've never experienced it, it's like the flu from your boob through breastfeeding when there's like a clogged duct and basically it just turns into an infection. But I mean, you're down for the count. So it's like when you're trying to breastfeed a baby and your boob is in so much pain, you're in so much pain, you have the flu quite literally, you're sleep deprived. I mean, it's a lot. And I'm not trying to like make it seem horrible. It's not, obviously. You get through it, but it was a lot. And I think too, at that time in my life, I mean, just to be completely transparent, I was not in the happiest marriage. So I think when you have a partner that's supporting you entirely, that's going to look a lot different when you have a really good support team. So I was not in the happiest marriage. And so I think that definitely put a little bit more pressure on my entire postpartum experience. I had some baby blues in the sense it was more like anxiety, just with the babies being okay all the time. And I would say, like, if you're listening to this and or experiencing this right now, or maybe you did and you're going to have another baby, like, I would definitely talk to somebody if you're feeling that way. I mean, I was never at a point where I was like feeling harmful towards myself or the kids or anything like that. But, I definitely did not feel the most emotional stable in the sense that I think that if I had maybe talked to somebody, I would have felt better and it would have been easier to get through. But I think the second time around, it was a little bit more intense just because it was COVID as well. So like everything was locked down and life, what we knew before, looked completely different. So it was just really heavy. It was really heavy. And again, like where I was at with my marriage was kind of falling apart. Like I got divorced a year later. So it was just a heavy time, but I really just tried to better myself as much as I could. And if you want to use the word quote unquote, like bounce back, I felt like I did it easier through my second pregnancy because I was really just trying to focus on what I could control at that point because I felt like my relationship was not the best. I had these two beautiful babies I've got to raise. Like I needed to fuel myself. So I just went to the gym, ate well, really prioritized taking moments of stillness to connect with myself more than I had ever done. How do you handle arguing with your spouse in front of your kids? Okay, I feel like this is a big one because shout out to my parents, love them, they're great. With that being said, I never saw them argue growing up. They've always had like the healthiest relationship and never saw them argue. So I feel like as I grew up, I kind of had this image of what a relationship should be like. There should be no arguments, right? It should be healthy. There should be no conflict. That's what I saw my parents have. And like, they're still married and happy and love each other so much. And when I went through relationships, I kind of had this distorted image of what a healthy relationship should look like. Because at the end of the day, I think that it is healthy to have conflict. It's how you go about that conflict and resolve that conflict that's the most important. And so now in my own healthy relationship, do we have conflict? Yes, we've talked about this. Do we like flat out argue? No, like we've never had a full-blown fight, which I think is because of our experiences being married prior. We appreciate what we have. We don't let it get to that point. There are definitely moments where it's heated and sometimes it's in front of the kids. And I just want you guys to know that that's okay to have those disagreements, that conflict in front of the kids. I actually think it's even helpful if you can go about doing that in a way of resolving the conflict in front of them too. Because as kids, they need to see that. They need to be shown that any relationship is going to have moments where you might not agree with the other person, right? And it's about how you go about resolving that is what is going to make an impact. And for our kids, if we have big feelings come on, or maybe we don't agree, we always try to communicate it in front of them and kind of resolve that conflict so they can see us make up and they can see us kind of get on the same page. I think that that's really helpful. And that way they can implement the same thing as they grow up in their own relationships or friendships or just like as a family dynamic. That communication piece is so important. If there are situations where we just feel like it's escalating, we just say, hey, we're going to talk about this later, and we do that. But we try not to let it ever get to that point. And again, I think some conflict is totally okay. It's about how you resolve it. That is going to be the biggest piece. What things kept you feeling you when in the baby stage? I just had my second and feel like I have no time. So I kind of alluded to this earlier. I completely understand that. Like when you have a second baby and you have so much to keep up with and taking care of your first child, it's a lot. Like you feel like you don't have time. And sometimes like that's going to look different. Even with my kids being 5 and 3, and I know this is just going to probably continue, I feel like you, before kids, have like allocated time to get ready and do your routine. And then when you have kids, it's like you've just kind of have to prioritize a little bit differently. For me, especially like in the beginning stages, I would, wake up extra early, get some movement in. Okay, then the kids wake up. I'm still not ready, but I would tend to them. Then when they would go down for a nap, I would put on some makeup. Everything was just kind of like chopped up. Now it's a little bit easier in the sense that I can still get up early and go work out. But maybe while the kids are watching like their morning TV or eating breakfast, I can quickly get ready. So it looks a little bit different. It's a little bit easier as they get older. But I will say, like, if you are at that stage where you just feel like so overwhelmed and you're still in PJs at lunchtime and a hair in a bun and just like don't feel you, just taking 5 minutes to do something that you know will make you feel good, whether that's a 5-minute makeup routine, right? Like tinted moisturizer, some blush, some mascara, slick back bun. You might feel better that way. Or maybe for you, it's movement, like some stretching or a quick walk on the treadmill or going outside and just like taking a moment to breathe. I think just 5 minutes of something that you know will make you feel better to start the day makes a big difference. I also tried to prioritize time with my friends as well, and my relationship, like date nights, whatever that may be. I feel like being able to dress up, like if you have the opportunity to have like a babysitter or maybe like your parents live in the same town, whatever that is, having a night out where you can kind of dress up and feel like your old self again every once in a while, I swear is like good for the soul. Okay, you guys, if you've ever spent a summer in Tennessee, then you know the heat and humidity are on a whole different level. And as someone who runs hot, especially when I sleep, I've always struggled to stay cool at night. And if you're like me and want to optimize your sleep quality and sleep environment, then you know staying cool is the goal. I had heard of Cozy Earth, and let me tell you, I get the obsession. Their sheets made from viscose from bamboo are unreal, super soft, breathable, and they actually help regulate your temperature. I've noticed I sleep several degrees cooler with them, even on those hot summer nights, and I wake up less from overheating. I have them in the color cream and it's such a pretty color. And let me just say, I'm a sucker for good loungewear, and their all-day tee is hands down one of my favorite everyday basics. It's light, breathable, and perfect for warm days when you want to feel put together. I also have been loving their studio pant collection. Just think incredibly soft, comfortable, and breathable. This is a brand I love being able to share, and the best part is you get a 100-night sleep trial to try Cozy Earth out for yourself. For peace of mind, if you don't love it, you can send it back stress-free. Plus, their bedding comes with a 10-year warranty, which is amazing. Luxury shouldn't be out of reach. Go to CozyEarth.com and use my code SAMCFIT for 40% off their best-selling temperature-regulating sheets, apparel, and more. You'll feel the difference from the very first night. I have major mom guilt when I leave my kids. How to avoid it, as I need time to fill my cup too. I feel like any mom listening can resonate with this question, because I think we have all felt that. I know I have felt that. I have gotten to a point where I finally like feel good about prioritizing myself as well, because I think that there's a way that you can do both. Think about it like as a toddler or a baby. A toddler, a baby, they need nap time to refuel, right? They're tired, they're cranky, they're not themselves. You put them down for a nap, they wake up, and they're a different kid. They're a different baby. They're a different toddler. I think it's the same concept for us as moms, in the sense that we are dedicating our lives to these children, and it's the most beautiful, amazing experience. But at the same time, if we aren't fueled ourselves and giving that time to ourselves and that attention, it's going to be hard. And I think what I have learned is that when I prioritize time to move my body, to meal prep, eat well, go on a walk. Heck, maybe it's not even like health or fitness or nutrition related. Maybe I just want to go get my nails done or go to Target, which love Target. But taking that time for you is going to help refuel you, which in the end is going to make you most likely a better mom. It's going to make you a better partner, a better friend, a better wife. I truly believe in taking the time for you. And I think that that's something that if you feel that guilt still, communicate it with your child. That's something that I do. Like if I'm at home with the kids and Ian's there and he's like, hey babe, go work out. But like the kids are there and I kind of feel that guilt creep in, and the kids are maybe like, where are you going, mom? I'll get on their level and I'll just say, hey bud, you know how I like to go to the gym? It's because I need to get strong so I can lift you up and play with you and hold you. You know what I mean, bud? Yeah. You know, it's like having that little conversation with them, I think goes a long way, just so they can kind of understand. And then I think you're also setting an example to your kids, which is huge. Being able to show them that self-care is important, right? We can't run ourselves down into the ground, and taking that time to prioritize yourself is going to go a long way, and they can see that and hopefully implement that same behavior as they grow as well. What surprised you the most about yourself after becoming a mother? Oh, this is such a good question. I would say the confidence that came with motherhood. I had always been confident. I mean, obviously, we all go through periods of life where we're not confident, but I'm an Enneagram type 2 and definitely like a people pleaser. And I wasn't always the best at creating boundaries for myself. Once I had kids, that completely changed. I mean, when you have children, you're not just in charge of yourself, but now another human, and you've got to protect them. And I swear there's like this maternal thing that just comes over you. And I know moms that are listening can relate to this, but at the end of the day, you're protecting them. And being able to create boundaries and say no, I think helps create that confidence, which also seeps into other areas of my life, whether that's like personal, friendships, relationships, work. I feel like I'm able to create boundaries and be confident with that more than ever because I have to be. I mean, I have to be strong and I have to be confident for myself, but also for my kids. And so I feel like the confidence that came with motherhood has just been something that I had always seen in other women and other people. And then like, wow, I would love that. And I just feel like it just like naturally came. And honestly, I've never been more confident than I am now. Don't get me wrong. I have not great days. We are only human, but the majority of the time, I think being able to like create those boundaries is pretty powerful. I get this question a lot in DMs whenever I do like Q&As. So a lot of you guys ask this, but when did you feel like you started getting your life back again? Or what did you feel like you were feeling yourself again postpartum? Because it's a journey. Don't get me wrong. It seems like you would bounce back. Like I said earlier, social media makes things look a certain way, or maybe like people in your life, you see women and you're like, wow, they look like they have it together. I don't. I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the pregnancy. But like I said, it takes a long time to build a baby. It's going to take a long time to recover, and that's okay. You have to give yourself grace. I think for me, the first like 3 to 4 months were like survival mode, right? Like you're not getting probably the sleep you need, but your body knows how to adapt. Just trust that. And you're trying to navigate hormones, breastfeeding if you're breastfeeding. Your body's still maybe not where you want it to be. I feel like the first 4 months are just survival mode. So just know that like it gets better. And then once I was cleared to really lift and just be more active, I started going to the gym a little bit more, and then just slowly worked my way up and really tried to listen to my body, especially with Quinn, my second. So I would say if you are like in that spot and you just are like, I don't know where to start, I don't feel like myself, just like I said earlier, create a routine and stick with it. Listen to your body, because if your body is not ready for that, you got to listen to that and you got to take a step back. But eventually you will become stronger, which is amazing. I think for me, it was probably around 9 months when I was like, okay, I feel like I'm stronger again. I'll be honest though, it wasn't until like a year where I felt like my stomach was back where it was before pre-pregnancy, as far as like the strength aspect, not even aesthetics, but like strength wise. Like I did not feel like I was tight and strong like I was before until about a year. So it takes a long time. And when it comes to the weight aspect, because I got a lot of questions around weight loss, postpartum, and all of that, I was not pre-pregnancy, I think until around 10 months to a year, which is interesting because I had always heard that breastfeeding will make you drop the weight like that, blah, 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 blah. That was not the case for me. I got a lot of questions about breastfeeding, so I'll also touch on that. But again, I had heard that like breastfeeding, you're going to drop weight like that. It's going to be super easy to get back to where you want to be. It was the opposite. Like I actually think I gained a couple pounds and I was like, what the heck is happening? Like I felt like my weight just kind of did a standstill. So with Grayson, my first, I breastfed for about 6 months. And then with Quinn, I breastfed for about 13 months. The entire time of breastfeeding, I felt like my body just naturally held on to some body fat, which guess what is totally normal. Come to find out, So if you're breastfeeding, just know that like, hey, it might not be where you want it to be until after, and that's okay. You are quite literally fueling another life, a human life, which is such an amazing honor. I was still able to work out and do all the things, but I felt like that last little bit of body fat that maybe I wanted to shed off, even with lifting and stuff, I didn't really get there until after breastfeeding. So I definitely held on to that. And one of you guys asked, you said breastfeeding hunger is real, how to stick to your fitness goals while maintaining a supply. So like I said, I gained weight with Grayson and Quinn. Obviously was more active with Quinn, but things kind of changed maybe around like 8 to 10 months. I feel like my supply kind of dipped. I was able to feel like a little bit stronger. Aesthetics kind of came with that, but it wasn't until like a year when I like really dialed it in. But here's the thing. I think that if you're navigating the breastfeeding journey and you're wanting to kind of get back to a stronger state, you've got to eat. That's so important. You've got to eat. You can't have a slowed metabolism. I've said this before. If your metabolism is slow, your body's going to recognize that as, hey, I'm not getting enough calories. I'm not getting enough nutrients. I'm going to go into starvation mode. I'm going to lower this metabolism. And then like anything you do take in, your body's going to naturally store as fat. So it's not going to help you if you're not eating enough. Plus, you got to eat enough to help with your breast milk supply. But I think prioritizing the right foods is key. So prioritizing protein, prioritizing fiber, healthy complex carbs, right? Potatoes, rice, fruit. Oh my gosh, I loved fruit when I was breastfeeding. I just ate all the fruit because fruit is also carbs. And then healthy fats. So avocado, olive oil, grass-fed butter, and then hydrating. So you got to think about it from the fact that your body has like double fluid loss because the breast milk, and then also sweating if you're like lifting postpartum and going to the gym. So you need to make sure that you're replenishing that hydration back into your body. So making sure that you're drinking enough water. I drank so much water when I was breastfeeding. I was just very thirsty, obviously, from that breast milk supply continuing to be fed out to the baby, but I was also working out with Quinn a lot more. So I was just like naturally craving that. And then if you're postpartum and you're breastfeeding and you're obviously cleared to work out, if you're just walking or maybe doing like light stuff, listen to yourself. But I would also challenge you to lift weights. It doesn't have to be crazy heavy weights, but just some dumbbells. Muscle retention is going to boost your metabolism. So naturally, you're going to build some muscle mass, especially when you prioritize nutrition. Where to find the support when your spouse does not support you while navigating postpartum and your motherhood journey? This is a hard one to talk about. I mean, I'm just going to say it. Like, I don't feel like I had the support I deserved postpartum. With that being said, with my ex, I feel like he gave what he could with where he was at. So this is nothing against him, but I feel like I see so many women that struggle in this area because we at the end of the day want to feel supported. You know, we're going through a hard time, and as beautiful as a time it is, having a new life, it can also be dark for a lot of people, and you never know what people are going through. And I'm so sorry for whoever wrote this, that you feel that way. I would say if you're listening to this and have experienced that, or maybe you're currently dealing with it, and it doesn't even have to be postpartum. I think just parenting as a whole can feel that way, can feel a little isolated in a sense, especially if, you're married and you're not on the same page with your spouse. I think first and foremost, that self-reflection and really trying to figure out how you feel and asking yourself these questions, maybe why you feel this way, where it could be better, what support you need, right? Like write that down. And then talk to your spouse. I think trying to communicate would be the next step. If you still don't feel supported, you got to talk to somebody else. I think that you'd be amazed the amount of women that feel that way. I know that I can think of a few right now that I've known in my life that have felt that way. And I said this earlier, but I feel like postpartum and just like as moms, the journey, again, it doesn't have to be postpartum, it can feel very isolating at times. And so being able to connect with somebody, whether it's another mom friend, maybe it's your therapist, maybe it's your own mom, but connecting with somebody to try to figure out ways to navigate, I think would be really helpful. Because again, it can be a really hard time, as beautiful of a gift it is, motherhood as a whole. It definitely has its moments where it tests you. I think through those moments, especially if you navigate it the right way, you can come out stronger, which I feel like I have. But my own personal journey, I feel like social media can make things look a certain way. And I know that I don't personally put my kids on social media a lot. But there's definitely hard days. There's definitely hard times where luckily I'm with somebody now and I've never felt more supportive. And I feel like when we really committed to each other and became a blended family, it's like I've never felt more supported more than I do now, which honestly makes me excited to see if there's an opportunity to grow our family. And just seeing the way Ian is as a dad, I think is going to be really amazing if that opportunity comes again to create a life with him and go through that postpartum journey. But I would say if you feel that way and you don't feel that support, reflect and then communicate to whoever that may be. But you got to get that out there. You got to put it out into the universe. What are small, impactful ways to get back into fitness when you have small children? Totally get this. I will say it's going to take some planning and some scheduling, and that's just how it is. I hear a lot of women say, like, I don't have the time. And I know this might come across harsh, and I am not meaning it to be, but everyone has time. It might take you waking up an extra 5 to 10 minutes early or dedicating time when the kids go to bed, but there's always time to move and prioritize your health. So years ago when I was postpartum and the kids were babies, I mean, I guess for Quinn, this was only like a couple of years ago, I would wake up extra early to go work out. And I still do that while they were asleep. And maybe nap time's your thing, but like when they're down for a nap, try to get some movement in. If it's interrupted, which mine were so many times, I totally get that. Give them a task to do. A lot of the times, like just this past weekend, I was out in the garage on the Stairmaster and the kids were in and out, asking questions. I just kept going. And eventually I looked down and like Grayson had the weights and he was like working out with me. Get them involved. Like I think it's really fun to get them involved, maybe get their own little set of weights or have their coloring books out in the garage or your gym or wherever that may be. I think being able to kind of like bring them into that environment makes it special as well. And it also doesn't have to be long. Like you can do a 20-minute workout with some resistance bands, some light dumbbells at home. And I think just some movement is going to make you feel so much better. And then the older that they get, like I said, to where I'm at now, you have a little bit more time. But I would say if you're starting back into it, just start out small, set a goal. 3 times a week, I'm going to move my body for 20 minutes and make it a priority and just stick with it. Okay, taking a quick break. One of the questions I get asked all the time is how to get enough protein in, especially on the go or during busy seasons like summer. And you guys know I'm all about fueling your body in a way that supports your goals and your values. And that's exactly why I'm excited to introduce you to something that has become a go-to in our household, Maui Nui venison. It's the healthiest red meat on the planet. Loved and trusted by Dr. Andrew Huberman, this isn't just any meat. It's 100% wild harvested, completely free roaming, and never farmed or confined. These animals live how nature intended, and because of that, Maui Nui is able to offer protein that's not only incredibly clean and tender, but also up to 53% more protein per calorie than grass-fed beef. Ian and I are obsessed with their sugar-free peppered snack sticks. They're 10 grams of protein for just 55 calories. And the kids snack on these as well. I keep them in my bag for pre-post workout, summer travel, or just when I need something quick in between calls. They also deliver straight to your door, which is a game changer for my moms out there. But beyond the quality and taste, which honestly is unreal, what really pulled me in is Maui Nui's mission. They're helping to solve a massive environmental issue in Hawaii by responsibly managing the overpopulation of wild axis deer, which are damaging the island's ecosystem. So when you support Maui Nui, you're not just getting the best protein out there, you're contributing to something much bigger, which is really cool. Maui Nui is offering a limited collection of my favorite cuts and products just for EMPWR listeners, but inventory is tight by nature, so don't wait. Head to mauivenison.com/SAMCFIT to grab yours. Again, that's mauinuivenison.com/SAMCFIT, spelled MAUINUI venison.com/SAMCFIT. This is one of those brands I'm truly proud to partner with. It's clean, ethical, and absolutely delicious. What does your schedule look like, and how do you allow time for yourself, work time, and family? I have said this before, but I create a schedule for everything, and I wish life was easy in the sense where I could just go with the flow. I remember like years ago when I didn't even have to like have a schedule or like a to-do list, like, which is crazy because now I just feel like my whole life is a to-do list. But with that, I feel so thankful and have so much gratitude for just to be able to like do what I do. It takes a schedule. So I wake up around 5 a.m. Sometimes I will snooze it to 5:30 a.m., but I always try to go on the Stairmaster first thing in the morning. We got a Stairmaster a few months ago and put it in the garage. And that has like been a game changer with just getting a good sweat in first thing. So I always do that and then try to get ready before the kids wake up. I find that if I don't get ready before the kids wake up, I feel a little bit more stressed. I'm like, oh no, I need to get ready, but I also have to tend to them. So I will say if there's a way to just, you guys get that done with before the kids wake up, it makes life so much easier. And I would consider that part of me time, right? Like centering myself first thing, getting ready. Then they wake up. I try to be very present with them when I have them before school and after school. So usually try to stay off my phone. And that was another question I got is like, how do you do the job you have when you have to be on your phone all the time, but also be present? This has been a work in progress and it's still a work in progress. Luckily, I have Ian to help me with that because it's easy to just start working, at 6 a.m. and not shut it down till midnight. But I have to create boundaries. Going back to what we talked earlier, I have to create boundaries and just learn to shut my phone off. And it's really hard. And again, not perfect, but I try to do my best. When they wake up, get the breakfast going, get them changed, get them out the door, and then the workday starts. And I am nonstop until I pick them up from school. Sometimes they have like practices, baseball, jujitsu. And again, when I pick them up, I try to like have everything loaded in my phone, like for stories, like done for the afternoon. I think a lot of y'all can see that I stop posting stories most of the time, like in the afternoon, just because that's my time with them. Now, if I do, it might be the weeks or the days that I don't have the kids. That's a different story. My schedule looks completely different. But when I'm with them, I just try to be present and I try to communicate with them and hear about their day and like just connect with them. We always try to do family time, eat together as a family and hang out. And then once they go down for bed, Ian and I will normally like go sit on the couch. Sometimes we have work to do. We'll follow up, but we always try to connect ourselves. Like that's very important to us. So being able to connect, whether that's like just talking, watching a show, going to the bedroom, we always try to connect in some way or the other. And then the day starts again. It is nonstop, but it's a beautiful life. Potty training tips. All right. So I will say with both boys, we did the 3-day potty training method and my kids responded great to it. And I had heard of the 3-day potty training method. I think there's a book out there. I did not read the book. I just kind of was like, 3 days where they basically don't wear underwear and you keep them at home. And they eventually learn to go to the restroom by themselves. I will say one tip I will give if you're potty training is don't start too early, because I had heard that if you start early with potty training, they might master it, but then they will sometimes regress. So you want to wait as late as possible in the sense that it's a habit that they'll stick with. So with the boys, I think they were maybe like 2, maybe shy of 3, and they were potty trained. So the way we did it was I had this like little potty training chart and I like sectioned it off like pee and poo. And I had stickers, like a thing of stickers and M&Ms. And so if he went pee, he got to put a sticker on the chart. If he went poo, he got to have an M&M, even better. I feel like that's the one they had the hardest with. But honestly, we just put underwear on them. A lot of parents go commando if they're just at home, because I think the goal is like if they have an accident, they feel that, and that's not ideal. So then they'll stop, right? But both boys responded so quick. Like within the first day, I think they each had maybe one accident, and then it just like stuck, and they were great. They wore a pull-up, like Quinn still wears a pull-up at night. So continue with the pull-ups at night, but then you can slowly wean that back. And yeah, that's kind of what worked for us. I know every kid is different, but the 3-day potty training method, look it up. How do you deal with all the junk food being pushed on kids without being too controlling? This is a hard one. And I'll be honest, I had a lot of anxiety in the very beginning, like of kids when they were babies, knowing that they were going to be exposed to all the things I tried not to have in our house. So like dyes and artificial ingredients, sweeteners, cane sugar everywhere, just like unnecessary ingredients in a lot of these foods. And I will say the first tip I would give is to model those good habits at home. So at our house, we obviously have very healthy foods. Again, we live like that 90-10 lifestyle. So of course we're going to go get ice cream or a cookie every once in a while, but the majority of the time we're going to eat whole foods that are nutrient dense at home. I've always practiced having the same foods for both them and Ian and I. So what we eat, they will also eat. We might add fruit or something like that on the side, but as far as like the protein and whatever complex carb, like potatoes, rice, like they're going to eat that as well. We don't do like separate meals. I just feel like this implements good habits in the sense that they obviously look up to you as parents. And if they see you eating these foods, they're going to likely want to eat those foods. And again, it's not always perfect. My kids are not a huge fan of vegetables, but I heard somebody say like you keep putting it on their plate and eventually they will eat it, which I have seen that in some cases. So we just try to lead by example when it comes to the foods. I will also say if we are in a situation where there are cookies or there is ice cream, whether we're out or at home, sometimes the serving sizes are large. Like I remember this with Grayson a couple weeks back. He had ice cream and the other two kids didn't eat it all, but he was like, I want to eat it all. And I was like, well, buddy, you might get a tummy ache because that could be very sensitive on your stomach. But I let him. And did he have a tummy ache? Yes. Did he learn his lesson? Yes. So I think sometimes not restricting in that sense, but educating behind that will help form good habits as they grow up. I will also say, let them be part of the process. I got a lot of questions about like picky eaters too. So letting them be a part of the process really helps when it comes to their willingness to try new foods. So whenever I have the boys or Reagan cook with me and then they make their own plate, right? They put the servings on their own plate. I feel like they always are more willing to eat it. So I have seen that too. But then I think you also just have to like pick your battles. Like when we go to a birthday party or we're out in a certain event where there are cupcakes or tons of ice cream or treats or junk food, whatever that may be, I try to pick my battles and know like that's the 10%, right? Like 90% of the time we're eating good foods and I'm going to let them be kids and have those fun, special moments, just like as adults we have, whether we're on vacation or on date night or whatever that may look like. You can't pick apart everything. You just got to live your life. Life is too short. Did your health and fitness dip after kids? No, it actually ramped up. I've said this before, but like pre-pregnancy, while I was pregnant, obviously I was active, but my strength training and like lifting in the gym and just like this career that I have now did not start until after kids. And then I became obsessed with it. Obsessed in a healthy way, I would say, but I have never been in a healthier state physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, just like my relationship with my body and the gym and food is just in a really good spot. Now, I will say I've gotten a lot of questions on, am I going to have more kids? I know I talked about this on the podcast with Ian. I would love more kids. I think he would too. So if that opportunity presents itself, because again, like life's crazy, so it just have to be the right timing. I think I'm going to do things a little bit differently than I did. I'm going to maintain everything. I've heard providers say, doctors say, leaders say that you can maintain what you're doing strength-wise throughout pregnancy. So I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm actually really interested to see if I am blessed enough to have another pregnancy, kind of what that would look like. I'm really excited about it. So we'll see. But no, I don't think that'll ever dip. It might change up a little bit. Like I might not be doing crazy squats on the barbell depending on how I feel, but I'm definitely will always maintain like healthy strength training and obviously healthy nutrition. So with all of that being said, motherhood is the most amazing thing, job, gift, honor that I could ever have and will ever have. It's the most important thing to me. You take away my job, you take away the things I have, my friendships, my relationships. My kids are everything. And I would do anything and everything for them. That's honestly why I kind of don't put them on social media a ton, to protect them in a sense. And I feel like I've said this before, social media can make things look a certain way. It's not all peaches and cream and sunshine and butterflies and all the things. It's sometimes really hard and challenging. But I have learned so much about myself over the last 5 years in motherhood than I have ever learned about myself my entire life. And I continue to every day. So I think motherhood, it's not just about being a mom to the kids. It's about learning who you are as a mother, as an individual with yourself, as a wife, as a girlfriend, just learning more about you as a whole. It's really, really neat. And I think just taking time to connect with yourself every once in a while is so important. And that's kind of what I did when I was in Honduras last week. I think it's so important. So you mamas out there, just know you're amazing. Know while every mother looks different as far as their day-to-day and their life and what they do, I think that we all go through the same challenges in a sense and have days where it might feel super hard. And we also have those days where it's like, this is why we're here, right? To create these amazing humans and watch them grow and be an example. And so there's so much empowerment behind it. So hopefully this episode was helpful. I love this community, especially with the moms out there. And if you're not a mom and just listening, maybe you want to be a mom, hopefully you can take something away from this, but I hope it was helpful. Thank you guys so much for being here. Be sure to like and subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes, and I will see you next week.